Here's the thing. I was going 3D, and I'll show you some of my 3D images. I was generating a fair number of these 3D images. And I was going to create my entire game using these kind of models. I was going to turn them into 3D models and have my whole game be 3D. Have the football players on the field, do their thing. But it turns out it's not even so much creating the models, right? So I can find and generate 3D models. I've created a number of them. I've already created like 4 or 5. These aren't all full of 3D models, but I have some like my lizards and other characters that have been generated. And even in my Unity application, I have one model, the lizards, that's uploaded, and I actually had him running around. It looks pretty cool. But I don't have him running any plays. And the problem is, the concept of my game is to generate a lot of different characters for my teams. So some teams will have multiple different characters on the team. And what this means is I have to generate models for all of them. And you can see here, there's a lot of them. There's 32 different models. And they're based on the draft team. So if any player is drafted by the Orioles or by the Lizards or by whoever, and I'm talking about their real life team, the real NFL team that they are rooted in. So the Broncos are translated as a different team name, obviously. It's the V-Born Scorned. So they're the Scorned. The Scorned are these guys. Right, so I haven't even created this character as a 3D render yet. He's pretty cool, pretty awesome. But I haven't created the 3D render for him yet. I think he would be pretty awesome as a 3D rendered character. I haven't bothered to try yet. I'm considering it just to have it. But here's the thing: I have to create a model for him. I have to create, and in fact, creating the model is easy because there's tools out there that can probably model them pretty good. But then you got to add a skeleton. And then you got to add an animation. And it's not one animation, but probably 10 animations. They're all humanoid, so in theory that should make them compatible with the same animations, but you still have to add your skeletons to every model. And 32 skeletons are, well, difficult. It's time consuming as heck, and I just don't know. It's just a lot of time and effort to create all those animations. And 3D models are expensive in resources and downloads. So then I thought, let's simplify the coloring. Let's not make them quite so hyper realistic. This guy's pretty awesome looking, He's one of the island lions. I love the look. Very realistic. I take his backgrounds out, turn him into 3D model. He'd probably be pretty freaking cool. However, I think it's just a lot of load on the game. So I think downloading images and having models that are this hyper realistic is going to make it kind of poor performance. So then we have the issue of performance, and that's kind of where we're getting with, is it a good idea? So I started switching over to a more lighter fare. This is actually not even a more I don't know, I want to say cartoony. In fact, that's the description I use, cartoon styles. So you have players like this now instead of players like this. This is, a 3D animated Oriole. This is a 2D animated Oriole. They're all 2D technically, but they are in fact lower detail, which is going to be a lot less load on the game. So the idea is that I take this character and turn him into a 3D or a 2D animated figure. And the trick is, though, how do I get these images? For example, notice how AI, when I generate my characters, pretty much always have them facing forward. Even when I say run them side by side. I wanted these guys side by side to have them racing like they're running sideways. But AI insists upon making everything facing forward. Notice they're all facing forward. I mean, yeah, they have that kind of left look. It's in the same way that you can't get a side view of a field. AI refuses it doesn't understand perspective. Everything is like a 3/4 image. You've always got this corner angle view. Even when I'm doing an A-frame character, he's rarely facing you directly. This is like sort of facing you, right? So this works out pretty good for him because I can see his tail for animation purposes. But it's really hard to get an animation from AI or characters facing you directly for the sake of modeling or putting a skeleton on a character. I've tried a number of attempts to put two characters on a field, and I don't know if maybe I'm just like every attempt to generate characters is always forward facing like this. They're always 3/4 facing forward. I say 3/4 because they're not quite facing you, but they're not quite sideways. And I'm struggling with how I'm going to do that with 2D. 2D or 3D. 3D is not as bad, right? Because you can model it, create the model, and now you've got this 3D character that you can turn and he'll face you the way you want him to, which is great. But if you're trying to get a 2D version. So then I thought, well, if I go 2D coloring, like simple coloring like this, I can try to create an animation. But then I just, I got to get 2D. I have to get 2D versions. If I go 3D models, I can do this, and then what do I do? Screenshot them, turn some sideways views. That's what I may have to do. Do 3D models of my 2D characters, and then screenshot them for my 2D positions. And then I have to animate the 2D positions. So I would like, give me one that's facing this way, one facing this way, one facing that way, and then just kind of get my 3D model. But the 3D models don't have coloring. That's a whole nother issue. I don't know how to, I still have to figure out how to change colors on my characters. So every character will have his own, like this guy, this rhino here, his head, his shoulder pads go up above his head, right? So his head kind of sinks in. He's short and stocky. This guy's tall. He's tall and thin. So if I wanted to do a mesh that changes their colors, I have to create brand new meshes and new parts for this character to have any new coloring. And that would go for everybody on the team. So if I have 2 snakes, 1 rhino, 1 scorned, 1 what do I got? Tuna socks. That's these guys. These are the tuna socks. And why is it the tuna socks? I don't know. Maybe they should just have socks that have tunas on them. I would have to change the name. I like the tuna. I like calling him the tuna. And the snakes are pretty cool in their own right. This one, I don't know what's weird about him. He's got a weird texture to him. This one's a little less so, but I actually kind of like this one better. I would have to get him a little bit more bright on the images. Now these are snakes, but remember the characters can be anything. They're all in the game. So the refs right now, I have a snake. But animating these might be a little easier, right? I just have to create one where his tail's forward or back, or trying to come up with ways to make him look like he's moving. Simple movement. I don't know. I have to find a way to animate these guys. And I figure 2D animations are going to be way easier. If I want the snakes to be part of it, which I do, with their snake bodies, I have to do something that's reasonable to animate. The animation for the tail here is going to be a pain. But for a 2D, I don't have to do as much, right? I just have to do shifts. And then I thought maybe I could do something where I bring in like I, I was speaking to AI. This is Microsoft Copilot, by the way. This is, I don't want to say the dumbest of AIs, but it's the simplest. It's unlimited and, it's pretty good. It uses ChatGPT 4, so it's a little dated. I don't know when or if they're going to update to a newer model. It's a blend of their own AI plus ChatGPT 4. And I was looking at different games. I kind of like the premise of Octopath Traveler, which uses like 3D models in a pixelated form. That I got something in my eye, so if I'm blinking a lot, I apologize. It's not bothering me a ton, but it's making me blink a lot. So the idea is that I'm trying to come up with, I kind of like this HD to 2D style, which puts them in a high 3D rendered world. And my game doesn't really need a lot of 3D rendering in the world. All I have is an idea. I have a scene that you can click on buildings, a lot of games do this kind of thing where you click on buildings and you go to wherever you need to go. And I want to do something like that in my game where I have buildings to click on. Now, coming up with ways that those buildings fit into my world is a whole nother issue. But what I'm thinking is I'd like to build a cityscape that has these things, but it has to look like my world because I'm doing a fantasy theme. So all these characters have to be in there. But a hyper realistic, as you know, my game has a fairly realistic looking scenery. It's whoops. Where is it? Okay, so I go. So this is my home screen right now. I might change it because I think since I developed this, I think AI has gotten smarter. A little bit better. It's still pretty terrible at things like football fields, but in fact, it's downright miserable at things like football fields. But if I can create small looking stadiums, things that don't have this kind of big thing. Right now, the idea is you click on the field, you go to the gameplay, you click on this, you go. But right now, this isn't doing anything on the Unity app, but on the React app, this all kind of works, or at least two of the buttons do. I haven't added a third one yet. So I was thinking like this would be your practice field. This is which doesn't look like a football field at all either. This is your game time field. This is your coach's hut, doing all the coachy things. Then I was thinking like up here would be where you do stuff that do your front office kind of stuff. And then down here you do stuff that's maybe related to training and other physical aspects of the gameplay. And I have no idea what the other houses would be, but that's kind of why I kind of thought, well, maybe what I really want is an empty scenery with no buildings in it, and maybe just some basic ones. Now, some games will actually allow you to do upgrades to these things, and then how do you build that? How do I build that into the scenery? I don't know. So every object on there has to be its own image so that you can have a game with construction versus a game with or a building with construction while it's under construction, and then stadium stuff, and then you got all these other things. So this looks like a pretty nice, fairly realistic image, but the coloring implies 3D kind of realistic, hyper realistic stuff, Octopath Traveler-esque at least. Versus something like this, which is cool, but it has more of a cartoon style, and it fits the theme of my game better. I like that you can't see these numbers because that almost looks like a 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. It almost looks like a full football field, which is pretty good, even though the numbers are terrible. AI can't get numbers. It just can't do numbers. Numerically ordering things just doesn't know how to do it. So yeah, I've got my Now, this is actually a pretty cool trophy, but the problem with this trophy is, you know, it's actually pretty cool. It's just a little too close to the, what do you call it? Lombardi trophy. So I went with something more like this. I mean, I did use the Lombardi trophy as an example, and I really like this, but it doesn't say championship on it, so I didn't know how to get it to render. I mean, I tried to tell them to do it with no background, and things kind of got weird. So this is my league logo. And this, what's cool about this is it gives you a 3D view of my 2D league logo. But again, I ask it for things that say put the full logo on it, and it refuses to put the ring in the logo. This is my logo, but nothing I do. Notice how none of these have the ring in the logo. It just doesn't want to put it in. So that's kind of annoying. I don't know what's going on. There's like a smell here, like, I don't know, my wife's cooking or something. It's just like, it smells like gas or like somebody's cleaning a stove or something. So this is a 2D image of one of my characters, or a 3D image. Again, do I turn them into 3D or do I turn them into 2D? So I'm slowly converting all my characters to 2D. This guy's 2D, doesn't have a background, but he's way too much detail on him. And his claws are really weird. And he looks a little bit too much like a dragon or something. He's supposed to be a lizard. This is the Island Lions back before AI got smarter. Is Laurent. And look at the face mask. It's on the side of his face. So, yeah, they get better. This one, I don't even know who that's supposed to be. I couldn't even tell you. They look like Yetis. That's a hyper realistic one. That's not terrible. But I can't do hyper realistic. It's just not going to work. I think graphically speaking is going to be a real problem for me. So I am going to start converting to 2D. I haven't been able to get much feedback on this. If anybody wants to leave comments and let me know what you think. Should I go 2D? This is just an icon I use on the image. So this is not what one of my characters is going to look like. But do you have a preference? Is 3D better? 2D better? Is something like Octopath Traveler, which kind of has a 3D looking sprites, 3D looking pixelated sprites. It's kind of like a pixel form of 3D art in 2D rendering. It's kind of interesting. And I actually kind of thought that might look kind of cool on the field. But I have to pick an art style at some point and stick with it. So I got to animate something. And I feel like I can do more with 2D. So for now, that's the decision. I'm going 2D. I'm going to keep rendering new characters in 2D, taking some of my favorite characters, such as the snakes. I really do like the snakes. And so these 3D guys, this is where the tuna socks came from. Looks pretty cool. I just don't think these guys are going to render very well in tiny form. Because once they're put on the screen, I actually thought using like images like this and making 2D images of them moving. But again, how do I get side views? I need side views because these guys are going to run on the field and I can't seem to get side views. I mean, this is about as close to a side view as I can functionally get. I don't know how to get these guys in a side view. AI does not know how to do side views. I'm going to do one right now just to prove my point. Watch it do it. Watch it do it now. So I'm going to go back to here just to finish out this particular session. All right, we're going to go upload. Choose upload from device. I tell you, this is just, there's no way this works. And it's really frustrating. So So we're going to take a 2D guy, we're going to upload him. And we'll upload him, and we'll upload him. I need these two guys facing each other. With the first opposed to rush a player behind a second player. Rush a player, second player. Both should be in the style of the first character, first image. Deep shadows, bright, vibrant colors, and control football gear. The second image should be facing the first character. Getting ready to snap the football to a character behind you. Should be a fully side view only. Thus, the image will be from the first image and the left of the second. All right, so I try to be as explicit as possible to imply that these guys need to be facing each other, and I want a side view of these guys. But how much do you want to bet when they give it to me, they're going to be 2 3/4 views of two guys that are kind of partially facing each other? They're going to be like, I don't know, like instead of facing like this, they'll be facing like this. Like they're posing for the camera. Like I'm gonna snap the ball and I'm gonna rush this guy. But you watch. This is my closing act for this stream, and the problems I'm facing with trying to make this happen. So this is where I may have to go with a 3D model and take screenshots of the positions that they're in and use those as 2D animations. That would be interesting. And it would result in more hyper-realistic looking characters, but I'm not totally sure if that's good. Plus, a lot of these 3D modeling tools really kind of do weird coloring. It's like Trippo is great at doing that. I'm telling you, Trippo is one of the best. People like Meshi, people like Mixamo, I think those are really not good. They don't do a very good job. And ultimately, when I do finally commit to that, I have to pay for those things. All right, let's see what this did. There you go. First of all, these guys are not facing each other. One guy looks like, well, maybe, I guess he kind of sort of is going over. But see, this is not usable because they are facing me, right? Their feet are not by each other's side. They're not sideways. They're all facing their 3/4 positions. They're both facing like this. Why? Why is that happening? They're all 3/4 facing the camera. I can't get the thing to do a side view. I did some images earlier. Watch. These are ones I did earlier today. Again, try to do side by side, 3/4 view, 3/4 view, facing you. Even these images, which are they're going around in a circle, you either have the back view or 3/4 views. I call them 3/4. They're facing 3/4 one way or the other. There's none of these guys are sideways. It can't do sideways. This is close to sideways, but only because they had to cover the entire body. But all right, so these ones are as close as any as I've seen. This guy looks like he's ready to snap. That guy's ready. But actually, this one's not too bad. This one. And that one's not too bad. But he's facing me, but he's got his head turned at least. I did even these little interesting little poses, like they're doing a center field prayer, like you see a lot of players do before games. I just thought it was kind of cool. The idea came to me. But side view is very difficult. This is probably the closest thing I ever got to getting a side view. And again, it's more of a 3/4 view. It's not, none of them are fully side views at all. They all have their bad. This only works because the player is kind of facing you. But what if I wanted to do him? That one's kind of a side view, but again, not complete.